So most of us won't homestead the wilderness, but every one of us will follow a dream that doesn't turn out the way we planned. Dan's dreams were defeated by his wilderness, but make no mistake, man will win that fight. It is our destiny to do so. What do men do in a world with no spots left unmapped? What does that mean for us who live in a place like the Flathead Valley that's still a bit wild? I lived and worked for 20 years in Los Angeles, and I wanted to return to this special place like my father told me I would. I wanted to raise my boys here, and I look for any opportunity to get out in the woods, and I find them. So here's some pictures of me climbing the Great Northern with friends. And you know what I did with these? I put them on Instagram, of course. I put them on Facebook. I had to show those flatlanders in South Dakota what they were missing. I want to champion our area, our wild, without exposing it. I want to share it online, but I don't want to exploit it for the rest of the world, filled with people who don't know and who don't care, who litter and trespass and leave their mark everywhere. And I think only through the knowledge and wisdom from the hands of people who do care do we have a shot of achieving that. But lucky for us, there's plenty of those people around. I have one final story to tell you, and then I'll wrap it up. In 2010, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, there was an eclectic art dealer named Forrest Fenn. He was diagnosed terminally with cancer, so he wrote a book detailing all of his adventures into the American West. And at the end of his book, he wrote a poem. And he said, if you read the book and you understand the author and you follow the poem, it'll lead you to $1 million treasure I've buried somewhere in the West. And this got pretty popular. He was invited on Good Morning America every couple of weeks where he'd give new clues. Levi Strauss, the Gene Company, did a campaign called Go Forth. I remember reading about that when I was working as a younger man. And in the height of its success around 2017, there was an estimated 300,000 people exploring the American West, and a couple of them died. There was a young man named Justin Posey, and he and his younger brother Brandon were searching. They spent 8 years looking for Forrest Fenn's treasure. They were in Yellowstone National Park, and they had a list of 10 places, many of which they had explored before. And Justin asked his brother, where should we look today? It's the last day of the season, the snow's coming, and we got to get out of here. Where should we look? And his brother points to 9 Mile Hole and said, let's go there. The treasure's there, I know it is. So they went out and searched for the last day of the season. And they didn't find the treasure. Sometime later, Justin's younger brother, Brandon, shot himself. In 2020, during COVID, that treasure was found in Yellowstone National Park at 9 Mile Hole. You know, they knew it was there. It was almost in their hands, but it slipped through. So the man that found it wished to remain anonymous, and Forrest Fenn's family said no problem. A couple months later, Forrest Fenn died as an old man, and the Park Service subpoenaed the family and said, wait a minute, we need to know where that was buried, where it was found, and where to patrol, because we got people showing up with shovels, digging holes in our national park. So under that duress, the family gave up the name of a medical student from the East Coast named Jack Stoof. And when his name went public, he said, look, I don't want that craziness. I don't want people crawling in my apartment looking for treasure. So he put it up for auction, and it was purchased mostly by one person, Justin Posey. So I've got a store west of town, and about a year ago, as I had just found the manuscript and was working on it, people started coming into my store and they're saying, hey, did you hear about this treasure? You can go on Netflix right now and watch a documentary called Gold and Greed, and it's about a kid who wrote a book about his adventures in the American West, mostly in Montana. And at the end of the book, he's got a poem. And at the end of the poem, if you understand the writer and follow it, it'll lead you to a $2 million treasure that's buried out there. So I went to my computer and I Looked it up and I ordered the book and I read the poem and I said, this does sound like Montana. In fact, it sounds like Dillon, Montana, or more specifically, the Beaverhead National Forest. I called my dad, who grew up in Dillon. I emailed him and I put together all these clues. I said, doesn't this sound like where you grew up? Can you decipher this for me and tell me where this treasure is? And he didn't write me back that night, which was sort of out of character. So I called him the next morning and said, what are you doing? I just told you there's a treasure out there. Answer me. And he said, I'm so confused. Are you emailing it to me because I know him? And I said, you know Forrest Fenn? He said, no, Posey, the kid. I know his family. They've got a cattle ranch up the Elkhorn. I went to high school with his mom. In fact, his grandpa was the game warden in Dillon. Your grandpa knew him very well. You know, he wrote, come to think of it, he wrote a book about being a game warden and all these cool places out in the wood that would be great to hide something. You know, I think I have that book on the bookshelf at my house. So my job of turning Trail Creek into a book got interrupted a lot. But through the course of this great adventure, I met a lot of people from the North Fork. I got to read a lot of great Montana stories. I got to learn about a lot of great Montanans and have my own great Montana adventures. I learned about Forrest Fenn. I learned about Justin Posey. I learned and read about the game warden in the Beaverhead, Wayne Fitzwater. And I got to learn an awful lot about my own grandfather, Daniel Block, who wrote Trail Creek. And through all of that, I got to have some really good moments with my own father, Brian, the land surveyor.